All right. Hey, what's happening, everybody? It is Rocked On Detroit Lions Friday night off the cuff. Seems like every time I get started, I'm always fidgeting with something. How's everybody doing tonight, man? Not a very well-planned show tonight, but I wanted to talk about a few things that have kind of come to light as far as the schedule and Jared Goff's, win-loss record, if you will, outdoors versus indoors, and why this man could be unbeatable in 2024. I think the chips are stacked in his favor. And I was going to try to get somebody on tonight, but I've been running around all day. I literally scheduled this stream in my car on the way back from Home Depot. So it's been one of those days. So tonight's conversation obviously surrounds, why the Lions can have so much success in 2024, with the first subject being the opponents, changes to coaching and players, roster moves, kind of paving the way for some of those games, or maybe they're games that could be more difficult. And before we get into really too much, I want to talk about Frank Ragnow, and let me get this queued up here. So it was speculated after the NFC title game that Frank Ragnow was considering early retirement or possibly retirement right away. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. We really don't know now. We only know what we do know now, right? And I guess, where did that just go? I guess the media kind of ran with it. And a lot of us picked up on what Frank Ragnow was talking about towards the end of the season. And it was this statement that was pretty harsh that kind of invited the conversation of his potential early retirement. And now Frank wants it to be very clear on his birthday, nonetheless, that he had battled through a number of injuries during the year, and the emotional toll of falling just short of the Super Bowl added an element of irrational thinking to that moment when he was in the locker room, speaking to media after the game. He was exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally. The dude was just spent. And I think some of us kind of took his words at face value, as opposed to letting the dust settle a little bit, just kind of let it be what it is for a couple of weeks. I think we were all probably on an emotional roller coaster that day. And what Frank said, he said. There's no taking it back now, but how he described the way he was feeling, and the toll that the year had taken on him and the road ahead, it kind of left room for speculation that Ragnow was considering early retirement. And predictably, with a player of his caliber, it gained legs among the fans and the media alike. But months removed now from this heat of the moment reflection, if you will, Ragnow still can't believe just how much things really got blown way out of proportion. At least that's how he's feeling today. We don't know what he's going to say, 9 months from now or 10 months from now, or when the season's over in February. What is he going to say then? How is he going to feel? But this is how he felt. He was frustrated. He said this during or ahead of the skeet shooting event for his foundation, Rag Remembered, just yesterday. It was kind of annoying. All I said was I was going to need some time to heal up the day after the game. That was my intention, and then it took off, which was kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Ragnow, who's only 27 years old, isn't retiring. It's not something he's even considering. In fact, he feels better physically, and he's feeling better than he has in a while, thanks to a continued off-season commitment to getting his body right. That process really started during turning around for him during last year under the guidance of the Detroit Lions' new training staff, led by the organization's Director of Player Health and Performance, Brett Fisher. He went on to say this: I feel really good. I feel as good as I felt in a while. This has been my best offseason, 100%. I really dove into a lot of things to take care of my body, and I feel like I'm clicking right now. The goal is to keep it a steady trajectory into the season. Instead of having, to worry about his body, Ragnow's attention is back to getting, ready for the Super Bowl. That's where he has his mind right now. His trajectory is getting this team back to where it was and beyond. He had this to say. He said, it's a huge motivating factor. It's so frustrating, and I try to keep it fresh in my mind, remembering how horrible that felt. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I think it's in the back of a lot of guys' minds. We should have done it, and a lot of that was on us. But we're all back and ready to roll. It's so exciting. So I'm excited that Frank is feeling the way that he does, because we know Frank Ragnow is very important to this team. Like, he's extremely important to this team. He's extremely important to the run game, to Jared Goff. He's the commander when Jared Goff isn't, right? He helps this offensive line, get into the right adjustments, make the right adjustments, the right calls, helping Jared Goff figure out the defense. He's an extremely important person and player, not only just to the team, but to the guys. He's a leader. He's somebody they depend on, and they kind of match, his energy throughout the game. So it's important that he does stick around, and it's important that, maybe he gets a chance to live out his contract. Injuries are what they are. And I think that's the one thing that I'll speak to about this is he can't do anything about the injury. He can't fix it. It's not so much the toe or the knee. Those things, he can do something about. And the plantar plate area on his foot, which is kind of underneath the middle of your foot where your arch is, where it comes together, there's like no cartilage. It's bone on bone all the time. So it's painful every day, all the time. Well, I don't know every day. I don't know what his pain threshold is. I'm sure it's pretty high. But for you and me, I'm sure it'd be pretty painful every single day. So he's dealing with something that's not fixable or correctable. And that's the toughest part of this whole thing is when you go through pain every single day, it wears you down. And I think that, throughout this season, he suffered some bang injuries just before the NFC title game. He had that knee injury. He got all mashed up in that Tampa Bay game. I believe it was the Tampa Bay game. He got all mashed up, man. He was in rough shape heading into that NFC title game. So I'm glad that Frank is back. I'm glad that he's feeling better, and that this season he's all in, man. He's committed 1,000%. Retirement is not a thought in his mind. All right, what do you guys got to say about good old Frank here? When the season ends in February, yeah, you caught that, didn't you, Joseph? It's not going to end in January for this team. Adam says, "Hey, Will, this might be a hot take. I think that I'm feeling that. Him, Goff, Panay, and Hutch have talked about what will propel us to a really hot start. I'm thinking 7-1 after 8 games. Without looking at the schedule that I threw together from Eric and I the other day when we were talking about the schedule, I think I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Like we get off to a really great start. 7-1, I think, is doable. 8-0 is doable. I think for this team. We'll talk a little bit more about it tonight." And then Joseph Ostin says, "I'm thinking 17-0 with like 10 shutouts, man. Easy, Joseph. This is a tough. We're facing a tough test this year. Real tough test. But I like where your head's at. I think that this team is going to take on yet another identity this year, right? That new mantra that we're going to live by as Lions fans, and I really believe that this team has the opportunity to grow into a whole nother phase, a whole nother dimension of where this team could head to is wide open, to be honest with you. I believe that Dan Campbell and AG and Ben Johnson have probably been putting their heads together all offseason to really dial up probably some new verbiage. They're going to have to change some things from last year, right? They can't be too vanilla. They can't, allow teams to figure out what they're doing early. So they're probably mixing up some things, in the offseason and making sure that this team has, a good head start with a good solid game plan to get rolling week 1. Week 1 is going to be a battle. It always is. It's a tough game. Our players really don't play in the preseason, or they haven't. And depending on how we match up, throughout the preseason practices and the scrimmages, that may or may not change Dan Campbell's mind as to what he wants to do, this fall, as far as, are you going to let the guys play? Are you going to let them get a little bit of time? Or are you just going to head into week one ready to roll like you did last year? And the guys really didn't get any time. So with that, obviously you kind of start a little bit slow, or at least that's the idea, that you're going to end up starting a little bit slow. And the teams that typically practice throughout the preseason, in the games, at least play in the games, tend to play a little bit better in the regular season. I know that there's some definitive data on that. I don't have it in front of me, but I remember hearing about it, over the last few seasons, because of course, there's certain media members that wanted to make fun of Dan Campbell not playing the starters, or, write a hit piece about it or whatever they were doing. And they pulled together the stats on it. I think we did pretty well last year. I mean, we were 30 minutes away from a Super Bowl without playing in the preseason. Do it again, Dan. I mean, I'm all good. With whatever he wants to do, I'm all good. Adam says, I think that what we do early will be dependent on how fast this defense gets quicker and better. I think is what you're trying to say there, or gets better quicker. I think that that's spot on too. That this defense is going to make or break us this season. We're either going to be heads and shoulders above where we were, or we're going to be just as bad as we were. I think that those are the only two options, right? It doesn't get much worse than what we were last season, outside of run defense. I mean, we were stellar in the run defense, but beyond that, this team really struggled. So we have to make that leap. And to your point, if we can start fast, then I think we'll be good. But the defense has to start fast. I'll check out your email, Doug. I'll make sure that I check it out tonight. I did pass along your email to Eric the other day, but I'll make sure it gets passed along. Thank you. So secondly, the second topic tonight, I got my package from Eric today. So I know he's not on with me tonight, but I thought that I'd open it. I mean, I'm kind of excited to see what it is, honestly. It's got a couple of cool stickers on it, little QR code. We'll see what's in it. See what we got here. Turn the mic off. I need to find a box cutter. Give me 1 second. Oh. Never know where the box cutter is. I can never find that darn thing. But I got some scissors here. So interested to see what we got here. These Uper light things that Eric does, man. I mean, these things look like dinosaur eggs. Wondering if he sent me some. So the second topic after I open up this package and share it with you guys, is I wanted to talk about the schedule and kind of how it lines up for Jared Goff, right? His indoor versus his outdoor records. And there was some indictments, I think, on Jared Goff about how he played outdoors. And quite honestly, after looking at some of it, and I didn't really spend a ton of time on it today because I've been kind of busy, but I pulled in some things, and we can talk about it again another day, but I pulled in some things here that was already completed. So I did pull in 2022 stats, or at least his stats through 2022. And then obviously we know the games, schedule from last year and where we finished and how we played there. So I think that we'll get a, really good idea of what he did. So, all right, first box is open. Oh, this is cool, man. Man, Eric really outdoes himself, doesn't he? Look, he's got a sticker of himself. The Uper lights. That's funny, dude. That's kind of cool, man. I like that. But the first thing is a flashlight body. Some batteries. Wow, these are some crazy looking batteries, man. I've never seen batteries that big before. 300 milliamp batteries. 2 cases of that. Another flashlight. So this is a very special flashlight. It's got Uper lights on it. This is one that he designed. It's to his specs. Oh, I see. This base. Oh, this is a big flashlight, man. Goodness. This thing is super slick, though. Must be like aircraft grade aluminum or something. It's really nice. But anyway, let me pop some batteries in this thing. Oh, there's a Uper light in here. He sent a stone. So we'll have to check this out. Let's see if I can make you guys see it. Oh, Andy sent me a battery charger. Man, right on, Eric. Good work, dude. So now I've got buckets of rocks from up north that, when we used to go up looking for Petoskey stones and stuff like that. And I suck at finding Petoskey stones. I'm terrible. But anyway, I we had this machine that would sand them down and, like little shakers and stuff like that. And I never really finished any of them. So I got all these buckets of rocks that, oh my God, that thing looks sweet, that I don't know what's in it. And this light will help me to figure out if I have any Uper lights in there. But check this out. This is sweet. I don't know if Eric has ever shown you guys what a Uper light looks like. I call them dinosaur eggs. It literally looks like something out of a movie. But let's put it in my hand here. There you go. Oh, I don't know. You can't really see that. But it glows and it literally looks like a dinosaur egg. Yeah, I suck. Can't do it. I'm trying. Eric could be mad at me. I'm failing here. I don't have the right lighting, but up close and personal, man, this thing looks incredible. It literally looks like it's on fire in the middle of the stone. So, all right. I'll open up the second box later. I don't know what's in it. Could be a rock. Sounds like a rock. But Eric, I appreciate you, man. You didn't have to do all this, but this is super cool, man. I really, really like this kind of stuff. Definitely going to add it to the wall. Appreciate it. Thank you. So anyway, let's get into some schedule stuff here. So as of 12/23 of 2022, so we only had like 3 games left in 2022. And Jared Goff had played 30 indoor games and 59 outdoor games through his career. Indoor, he had a 66.35 completion percentage. Outdoor, 62.3 completion percentage. So a difference of 4%. Indoor, he was actually completing less yards per attempt at 7.1 than he was outdoor at 7.5. Indoor, he had thrown for 48 TDs, which is, they should have broken it down by game. They didn't. So 30 games, 48 TDs. That's 1.6 TDs per game. Outdoor, he threw 89 TDs in 59 games. So that'd be 89 divided by 59. So 1.5. So the difference of a tenth of a point. So almost even. 18 interceptions indoor to 48 interceptions outdoor. So there's the big number that I think people are worried about, is you have to take into consideration here that outdoor, there's a lot more elements, right? You got wind, you got rain, you got snow, you got sleet, cold, hot, extreme hot, any type of weather obviously is going to cause issues. I mean, just being super hot and muggy outside could cause the ball to slip in somebody's hands. And then, of course, the interception goes against the quarterback, right? So it's always the quarterback's fault. Passer rating. So 94.9 indoor, 89.9 outdoor. It's not terrible. I mean, I'd love to see his passer rating north of 100. I mean, that would just be absolutely elite. But there are not many quarterbacks that are north of 100 throughout a career. Let's just put it that way. I mean, there's not many at all. So outside of the higher interception rate outdoors, there really isn't a noticeable difference for Jared Goff, indoor, outdoor. As far as the cold goes, there's a really small sample size. Goff had only played in the cold with the Rams. I'm sorry, a real small sample size for Goff playing in the cold with the Rams. He only played in 5 games where the temperature was below 40 degrees. Obviously, he hasn't played in that many games, even in Detroit, where the temperature was below 40 degrees, but he's played in a couple. Here's what he did along with the defensive DVOA rankings for each team. These 5 games were the Titans, the Broncos, the Bears, the Seahawks, and the Packers. The Titans were ranked 23rd in DVOA. They were 22 of 39, 286 yards. I'm sorry, Goff was 22 of 39, 286 yards, 4 TDs, 0 interceptions, 115.4 passer rating. Pretty solid. Against the Broncos, everybody struggled against the Broncos that year. He was 14 of 28, so 50% completion rate, 174 yards, no TDs, 1 interception, 58.8 passer rating. So not a great day at the office. Against the Bears, who were first in DVOA, by the way, and the Broncos were 6th. Everybody struggled against the Bears this year. He was 21 of 45, 162 yards, no TDs, 4 interceptions, 21.3 passer rating. That was probably his worst game ever. One of his worst games. If he's probably has 4 or 5 really bad games throughout his entire career. And I think that that's pretty damn solid, in my opinion. Especially when you look at all of the games, that he has played extremely well in, and all the games that he played well enough to win, far outweigh the bad games. Seahawks were 16th DVOA. He was 12 of 25. So again, about 50% completion rate, 169 yards, 1 TD, 0 interceptions, 86.1 passer rating. My audio is gone. Shouldn't be. Can you guys not hear me? Audio should be good. Jayster, you should have gotten an email, buddy. If you had if you requested a t-shirt for the consolation prize, you were sent a $25 gift card in replace of it. Yeah, I don't know. So James, your audio must be gone. All right. So anyway, we'll keep going here. Seahawks, like I said, they were 16th in DVOA, 86.1 passer rating that game. Packers, 17th DVOA. He was 21 of 27, 1 TD, 0 interceptions, 105.9 passer rating. So in those 5 games where, he obviously played in those games, I don't remember exactly what year this was. Maybe it was 2022. I don't think it was, but it might have been. Goff struggled against the Bears and the Broncos. This was between 2017 and 2022. Goff struggled against the Bears and the Broncos defenses in 2018, but so did everybody else. When playing, a middling style of defense or a bad defense, Goff did what he's supposed to do as a good quarterback, and that's play well and win. That rest of that season there, though, in 2022, we should add on 2 more away games and 1 more home game. And he was 1-1 in those final 2 away games. One was the Panthers, where we got completely shattered. And the other one might have been the Packers, if I remember correctly. 2024. So when we take a look at what Goff did inside versus outside, right? In 2023, we had 7 games that were outside in 2024. This is probably the most games he's ever played in one season outside, and 10 indoor games. He lost 2 outdoor and 2 indoor. Actually, no, he had to have lost more than that because we were 12-5. I'm missing a loss somewhere. Let's just run through it. Chiefs, we won. That was outside. Seattle at home, that was a loss. That was inside. Atlanta at home, that was a win. That was inside. At Green Bay, that was outside. That was a win. Home against the Panthers, that was inside. That was a win. At Tampa, that was outside and a win. At Baltimore, that was outside in a very bad loss. Home against the Raiders, that was a win. At the Chargers, that was also inside. That was a win. Home against Chicago, that was a win inside. Home against Green Bay, that was a loss on Thanksgiving. At New Orleans, that was inside. That was a win. At Chicago, that was outside and a win. Home against Denver, we completely crushed them. That was a win. At Minnesota, inside. Did we lose that game? I think that we lost that game. Did we not? Did we lose the first game to the Vikings last year? I don't think we did. So what game am I missing here? Oh, you know what? I don't think I put the Cowboys down. No, I put the Cowboys down. Even though I don't want to. What game am I missing? Yeah, we beat the Vikings. We beat them both times. My math isn't mathing. So at Minnesota, inside was a win. At Dallas, outside, that was a loss. It was really a win. And then home against Minnesota was a win. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's 17 games. I got them all correct, right? At Bears was a loss. At Bears. Where's that game at? Home against Chicago. At Bears. Oh, I've got that one as a win. Okay. Yeah, we didn't have a great day at the office that day. I remember that game. That was terrible. We didn't show up that day. All right, so there we go. So we had 3 games that we had lost outside. So we were 5-3 or 4-3 outside, and we were 8-2 inside. You know, overall record 12-5. So it's not a bad season, right? I mean, when people say that Jared Goff can't play outside, I mean, he had a better than 500 record outside. He was 4-3 last season. And when I look at his stats, they're almost identical between indoors and outdoors. Why am I bringing all this up, right? I mean, why does it even matter? Well, it matters because the Lions barely have any games outside this season. I think we have 2. Let me pull in the schedule real quick. So, you know, we kick off the season, Rams at home. And then we have Buccaneers at home. Then we go away to the Cardinals. And the Cardinals stadium has a retractable roof. So it just depends on, you know, are we going to be outside or inside that game? So there's one potential, right? Then we have the Seahawks at home, Sea Chickens, whatever you want to call them. Then we have the Lions at the Cowboys. You know, that's outdoors. I think that's also a retractable roof, right, for the Cowboys. If I remember correctly, it should be a retractable roof. So there's 2 potential games outside. Then you got the Vikings, the Lions at the Vikings. That's indoors. Then you got the Titans at the Lions. That's indoors. The Lions at the Packers, that's our third potential game outside. Now, that's November 3rd. So it could be a little chilly, but the average temperature in Green Bay, in the first week of November is usually around 45 degrees, 40, 45 degrees. I mean, it could be anything because it is what it is up there. But then the next week at Lions at the Texans. And I believe the Texans stadium is also retractable roof. It's both indoor and outdoor. So there's a potential there that, it could be our fourth potential outdoor game. But again, they're not cold, right? To your point, Brent, no cold games, really. We're already into the Texans game and, it's the 10th of November. I mean, yeah, they might be chilly, but we're talking games that are probably going to be north of 40 degrees, especially down south. I mean, it's going to be north of 60, 70 degrees. Then you got the Jaguars at home. And then you got the Lions at the Colts. Both of those games are indoors. Then you got the Bears at the Lions. And then you got the Packers at the Lions. Then you got the Bills at the Lions. Nice 3-game homestand. Love it. And then our first cold game of the year is Lions at Bears, December 22. And then we go out west where it's nice and warm. And then we're back home indoors. So there is 5 outdoor games, of which one will more than likely be cold. I like our odds here, especially with the retractable roof. May or may not open it. I mean, if the Cowboys and the Texans and the Cardinals, I think that theirs is retractable. If they believe that the Goff is going to have a worse game playing outside, they'll probably open it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hey, there's Sports Talk with Rob. Yeah, I had a crazy day, dude. I barely had this stream scheduled. I don't have the new cord yet either. Otherwise, I'd say you could just call in. I could probably Bluetooth it. So that's a great point too, Brent. We got a great running game. We got a crazy good running game. Crazy good. So the whole point about, Goff could be unbeatable. The Lions could be unbeatable this season is because of the way that these games are lining up, inside versus outside. The travel components to this, I think, are spot on. I think it's a great schedule, to be honest. I mean, I don't like the 3 games in 11 days type stuff. I think that's complete garbage. But we've got a nice break before the Cowboys. Yeah, we have an early bye that sucks, but the Lions are smart, man. I mean, they were able to get through last season with a bunch of injuries and navigate our way through it. And I think that we're just going to have to be smarter this year with who's on the practice squad. Fill the practice squad with the guys that, have potential injury issues or the positions that tend to have more injury issues than others. Wide receiver, running back, cornerback, apparently offensive lineman. That's what your practice squad should be full of. Outside of really good players that you want to keep, you should probably load it up with players that can actually play if and when their number is called. Give Frank the Super Bowl MVP. That would be crazy, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'll be out there, Adam. I was out there last year. I was out for the title game. That was a crazy game, man. Crazy expensive too. So next up, here's another component to this. So it's all kind of coming together, right? The Detroit Lions early schedule coaching observation by Al Karsten. Week 1 versus the Los Angeles Rams. So the Los Angeles Rams defense will be the first game without defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, replaced by Chris Shula. And Hall of Famer defensive tackle Aaron Donald is no longer with the team, but they do have Kobe Turner, in my opinion, will be just fine. And then, of course, they added some players in the draft, but, that's week 1. They're missing their defensive coordinator that they've had for a while now. So they're kind of starting anew, a new game plan. Week 2, Not only did we take their number one corner against Tampa, right? We took their number one corner, but the Tampa Bay offense, this will be their second game without their offensive coordinator, Dave Canales, replaced by Liam Cohen. So it's a big difference now for Baker Mayfield to have to relearn, readjust to another new offense. And then we have week 3 against Arizona. Arizona's defense, a 30-year-old second-year defensive coordinator, Nick Rallis, versus Ben Johnson. I like those odds. Now, Arizona has a pretty stout defense. They're definitely stacking the box. Fairly young team. So I do like the odds here. You know, you've got Ben Johnson, one of the smartest offensive coordinators in the league. We'll have this team ready. Week 4 versus Seattle. So Seattle's team will be the 4th game under new head coach Mike Macdonald. That's big, right? I mean, Seattle is always seemed to have our number, and now they're coming in with, you know, a relatively new team all the way around. Gino's back, but they lost some players in free agency, and they lost their head coach, you know, or fired their head coach, whatever they did. That to me is huge. You know, not having that same moxie coming into the building, that he offered. So week 6 at Dallas's defense, this will be the 6th game without defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, who has been replaced by Mike Zimmer. Now, I could have went really deep with this, you know, and looked at, you know, Mike Zimmer's past and, Mike Macdonald and Nick Rallis and Dave Canales or Liam Cohen, Chris Shula, you know, and really looked at, you know, who they are, you know, how much are they bringing to the table? Is this going to be a swift, you know, movement for them? Where are they able to replace and get back to where they were? Or is it going to take some time? I will tell you without a shadow of a doubt that it's going to take some time no matter what. Anytime you have a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, the only benefit to that is now you don't have a ton of tape on what these guys do and what that coach generally does. So if they haven't been an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, or a head coach for a very long time, it's just like a new player that enters the league or plays with a new team. You just don't have a lot of tape on them. So you don't know what you're up against. So thankfully, you know, some of these newer coaches, we get kind of early. So I think we have the leg up there. I really do. Week 8 and week 13, we got Green Bay Packers. Jeff Hafley is the new defensive coordinator. Now he's going to have 8 games underneath his belt and then 13 games underneath his belt. So this one I'm not as excited about just because it's Green Bay. They always seem to find a way, and they got a pretty good defense too. So I think if there's a defense that could really bounce back, it's probably going to be Green Bay, sticking with a lot of the same players that they had last season. Minnesota defense, I mean, it's almost all brand new everywhere. So I think that's going to, you know, really lean on the Lions to find their advantages in those games, you know, with the Vikings and with Green Bay. You just got to find the advantages. So that was really it for tonight. That's what I wanted to talk about, was kind of throwing some information out there. You know, we've got new people we're going up against, new offensive coordinators in the league, new defensive coordinators in the league. Jared Goff, his winnability is high this year. You know, not only do we have a ton of inside games, we have a nice 3-game homestand in this schedule. Our travel is not crazy. Like, we're not going from Texas to the 49ers to Arizona and then back home. You know what I mean? We're home, and then we're away. And then we're home, and then we're away. And then we're away. And then we're home, and then we're away. And then we're away. And then we're home, and then we're away. So it's not terrible. And in this going home and away stuff, it's like, yeah, we go to the Texans one week, and then we're back home. And then the week before that, we were at the Packers. So it's not really terrible, right? It's only an hour and a half flight, you know, from Detroit to Green Bay. and an hour and a half flight home. No big deal. No sweat. Texans, that's like a 4-hour flight, maybe at most, maybe a 3.5 hour flight from Detroit down to Arlington or Houston. So, I mean, not terrible. We're not really crossing over a bunch of time zones. I think we're only crossing over to one when we go to Texas. So it's just like going to Chicago. You're just an hour different. So I think we're in good shape, guys and ladies. I think that we are. I think that we have a great opportunity this season to really jump out hot to some of your points and really put the pressure on quickly. John Doe says, "Hey, Will, can we ask the news reporter from Tampa what the weather conditions?" That poor lady. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I did report on that last year. I did. From what I understood, though, she was like a fill-in. Like that whole office, I guess, was like, I don't know, fired or something. And she filled in. And yeah, that was the look on what's his name? Tampa's coach. What is his name? Bowles. The look on his face. There wasn't anything better that day anywhere. He was trying not to crack up. Like he was trying not to crack up or he was trying not to be a complete jerk. But yeah, that was gold right there. That was good stuff. What's OTCF? I don't know what that is, J-Rod. Will Akers record predictions got the Lions going 14-3. Let me pull up mine. I want to say I was right around the same 13-4 ish. I think 14-3 ish. No, I wrote it down. Where did I put it? We're keeping this one. I think Eric and I are going to have to do some sort of a bet. So what was I? I was 14-3. Eric was 15-2. Now this is obviously the pre, season. Way too early. Take a guess at the schedule. Once we get out of training camp and get through preseason, I'll put out my final. Off the cuff followers. Gotcha. I didn't know that was an acronym. I like it. That's cool. If Eric loses, he shaves the beard. Yeah, I don't think that would happen. I don't know what he looks like without the beard anyway, so probably wouldn't want that to happen. I have no idea. His wife would be furious, I'm sure. Sports Talk with Rob says, "Did you see the Lions' new field concept?" Have not seen it. I've been in a bubble all day. So Lions I thought they got a new field last year. Didn't they get new turf last year? Where did you see it, Rob? I could have sworn they got a new field last year. ZZ Duper. Yeah, Arizona could be that sleeper, Brent. You guys know me in Arizona. I feel like they are going to be this year's Texans of 23. And, I think that's a phenomenal matchup. You've got two very young squads. I mean, Arizona too, but the Texans, man, you want to talk about resurgence of two ball clubs, both really young squads. The Texans game, in my opinion, should be the game of the week, right? I mean, it's going to be a game. It could end up being the game of the year. I think it's going to be that good of a game. I'm excited about it. I really am. I think that's going to be the game that really tests who these Lions really are. That defense is so scary. Really, 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 really scary. I don't see anything, Rob, about this new field concept. I don't see anything about it. Yes, John Doe. I'll be there. Always, man. We don't get rid of those. Slobber knocker of a game. There you go. All right, so let me look up one more thing here, and then I'm gonna jump off tonight. I think I still have a little bit of daylight left to try to get a post in the ground. There was one other thing that popped up today, and it was about Brock Purdy and that NFC title game. So I came across this article earlier today about Brock Purdy details his NFL wake-up call versus the Lions. The toughest game he's ever been in is what he was alluding to. But this is what he had to say. He said, all I remember was it was like, all right, just one play at a time, man. And everyone believed it. Purdy said during a 49ers quarterbacks panel at the Dwight Clark Legacy Series event Thursday night at San Jose's California Theater. He said, we had the guys to do it, but I remember the first play of the second half, I threw it to Debo on like a 20-yard in route. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, this is us. We got to play like us. And a long story short, we scored touchdowns to come back. Defense balled out. We got some crucial stops. And then I remember there was one drive toward the end. I scrambled for a first down, got the first. And after that, Christian McCaffrey had a good run in. And I think Elijah Mitchell punched it in. But right then and there, I was like, dude, this is team football. It's not just one guy putting the whole team on his back. It takes everybody in the organization. And in that moment, I was like, this is not easy. This is tough. The NFL is tough. To get to the Super Bowl, to do all those things that you want to do, there's going to be those crazy, nasty wins. So that's what comes to mind, how tough it is. But man, is it worth it? The fact that he's, mentioning the Detroit Lions as the toughest test, really of the season and what it took to come back from that game, we've got to feel good about it. I know it's not easy to talk about because every single one of us knows that we should have been in the next game. But I think that we should rest our hat at the end of the season knowing that we gave it our all. I mean, the Lions put it all out there. Some big mistakes were made. Some rookie mistakes were made, to be honest with you. Even some veteran mistakes. Some coaching mistakes. Some coordinator mistakes. There was a lot of things going on in that game. But I'm super proud of the fact that the Lions went that far. They tested their mettle all the way as far as they could go. And now they're better for it. Sometimes you have to fail to win. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but you sometimes have to fail to win. And what I mean by that is if you always win your whole life, like if everything just comes easy and then you're faced with adversity, you won't know how to handle it. If you're faced with a lot of adversity and you find ways to be a chameleon and blend and figure out a way to fight through that situation, that's when you can really take on a tough task of getting back into this situation this year in the NFC title game. And this time, remembering what you did wrong last year and what not to do. So you're going to call upon your failure to find that strength to win. You're going to reach back and find all of those little nuggets that you learned along the way through last season for a lot of young guys that have never played in the NFL before, too. And some guys that have played in the NFL that have never even made it to the playoffs. They had to feel that energy, right? They had to get in that moment and be part of it. And so now we've failed. Now it's time to go win. And I feel like that's right up our alley this year. I'm glad that the guys got the experience. Obviously, I would have loved to have been in the Super Bowl. I think that it would have been a win-win-win, honestly. I don't think that there was a team that really wanted to face the Detroit Lions in the playoffs. Clearly, we had a great season, and we played well in the playoffs, at least well enough to win. We did a lot of things right, but there was a few things that we did wrong. And Dan Campbell has spoke to it. And I'm sure all of these players and these leaders on this team have spoken to it. But if you look around now in this roster, you have players that have been to the Super Bowl. We have more of them that have been to the Super Bowl. We have more players that have been through the playoffs, more leaders, guys with experience that can nut up at the right time and get beyond whatever adversity is in front of them. Dan Campbell always speaks to the Lions being a very resilient team. Well, now it's time to take that resiliency, right, and turn it into a new chapter, which is the Lombardi Trophy, which is where I think that we're heading here in 2024. So that's all I wanted to end it with tonight. A little bit of chalk talk, if you will. It's a new season. We're just getting started. OTAs are coming up here in a couple weeks. Training camp will be here before you know it. And I'll tell you what, we're all going to blink twice and click our heels 3 times. And it's going to be a brand new kickoff to this season, literally a brand new kickoff, different style of a kickoff. And we're going to be right back in it, right where we left off. Shout out to Sports Talk Robbie says, I just emailed you the field concept, but I don't think they made it official yet. All right, let me open it up real quick. Field concept. Yeah, I've never seen this. I don't know where it came from. I mean, I'll share it. I don't know if it's legit either. Oh, shoot, that's kind of small, isn't it? Whoops. Eric, can you guys see it? I mean, I kind of like that. It's kind of cool. I don't know about those stripes in the middle of the field, though. I think that's a little much. It's interesting, though. I don't even know how they would pull that off. They'd probably have to paint it on every single time. I definitely like the Motor City on the seats, though. That's kind of cool. You got the stripes in the end zones, the stripes in the seats in the end zones. So yeah, there's layers upon layers there. I think that this is probably just somebody's rendition, though, honestly. I haven't seen anything anywhere. I haven't even heard that the Lions were going to be getting some sort of a new field. I thought that they got a new turf last year. But I don't know. We'll see. Appreciate you sharing that, man. All right, that's it for tonight. It is 8:55, a little bit of a shorter podcast tonight. But we got adult things to do. You know, I got jobs to do around the house here. They got to get done. It's summertime almost, and they have to be completed. I've got a long week next week at Cleveland. So I will not be on Sunday night or Monday night or Tuesday night. I should be back Wednesday. And then I fly out Thursday for Florida. So I might be on Wednesday night. If I can do a pop-up between now and then, just turn on notifications. You'll get notified, and we'll be able to pop up. If there's some sort of breaking news, I'll try to do it. Of course, I'll have my phone with me. If I've got to go, just live extremely unprofessionally, I will. But anyway, that's it for tonight. I appreciate you guys joining me as usual. Friday night off the cuff, Rock Down Detroit Lions on the Rock Down Podcast Network. You guys have a great weekend, and wish me luck at Cleveland Clinic. I want to come back without any negativity this time. I hate doctors, but it's a much needed visit. I got to get cleared and move on. So you guys have a wonderful weekend. Go Detroit Lions. You guys take care. Bye-bye.